It's late today. Had some constituents I was meeting with. We do have a quorum, I think, but I will let the secretary call the roll.
Representative All.
Here.
Representative Bentley. Yes, ma'am. Representative Bray. Representative Duval.
Here.
Representative Fraser Gordon. Representative Gooch.
Here.
Representative Justice. Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative McPherson.
Here.
Representative Rorix.
Here.
Representative Roberts. Representative Rudy. Representative Smith.
Here.
Representative Stevenson.
Here.
Vice Chair Lockett.
Here.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Here.
Chairman Meredith.
Here. We do have a quorum and are duly constituted to do business. If everybody would please put their cell phones on silent. We will start with our agenda, but we do have a few special guests to recognize. Representative All, I think you've got guests.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, all the way from Philpott, Kentucky, I want to welcome my dad, Ronnie All, who's here with me today, and his fiancée, Kelly Pence. Now, for those of you who knew I grew up on a farm, he can talk a lot longer and much better about cows than I can. You'd be interested in that, so please make him feel welcome.
Representative All, I've known you for 20 years. We've not talked about cows yet.
Somebody can talk longer than you? Are you sure?
Easy now, Vice Chair.
I'll have to gavel him down.
Any other members have special guests today? All right, seeing none, we'll move towards the agenda. We're going to start with House Bill 771. Representative Lockett, if you want to head towards the table, bring anyone you have with you to the table. And if I could, I know I have a couple folks that I think are wanting to speak on this. If somebody could, you all could sign the sign-in sheet to speak on this issue, to get you all on the record. We have it still. Just a second, Representative Lockett. All right, Representative Lockett, if you want to go ahead, introduce yourself for the record, and then let your guests introduce themselves as well, and then we will proceed with testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Matt Lockett. I'm the state representative out of the 39th District.
Eric Lakin, General Counsel to the House Majority.
Suzanne Schaffer. I'm a trust and estates attorney.
So today, Mr. Chairman, we have House Bill 771, and there is a committee sub.
I've got a motion on the sub from Representative Bray, a second, Representative McPherson. Are there any questions about the sub before we adopt it?
Alex, I can
Give a little explanation of it, Representative Lockett.
So the only differences in the sub and the original bill are technical changes on the first page and subsequent pages, putting those in alphabetical order, renumbering those sorts of things. So that's all that the sub does.
All right, no questions on the sub. All those in favor of adopting the sub say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The sub is before us, and
Very
you may
good.
proceed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, in my professional role, I'm a financial advisor, and one of the things that we do with clients in terms of wealth management is utilize trust planning. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to Suzanne. This particular bill deals with what's called a spendthrift trust. So I will turn it over to you.
Great. So the bill really seeks to add Kentucky to the growing list of states that have already adopted what's been known or what's become known as domestic asset protection trusts. There are now 20 states, all but one of our neighbors have laws to this effect. And what it is allows someone to create an irrevocable trust, put their assets into that trust, and after waiting a statutorily prescribed period of time, which in our case is 1 year, then they have creditor protection. Now, this is not for any existing creditors. You cannot put assets into a trust to avoid your creditors. We still have the Fraudulent Conveyance Act to protect us from those scenarios. But this bill would allow a grantor to preserve assets, and the way that it's drafted, it would be a completed gift for estate tax purposes. So it would allow Kentucky citizens and any others who would want to utilize our state's laws to put assets in this type of trust to protect them from future estate taxes. So if you think family farms and family businesses, this is a tool that people have been using in other states for a number of years, and we have lost out on that revenue because we don't have these types of friendly laws. So this would give the same rights to our citizens that citizens of Alaska, Nevada, South Dakota, all of those states are enjoying, and it may actually attract some outside citizens from other states to come to our state to utilize our friendly laws.
And all of our border states, with the exception of Illinois, I believe, also has this type of protective trust.
Yes.
Anything you want to add? We can certainly get down in the weeds on this. It's a very detailed bill. We didn't want to do that if it's not necessary. So that's...
I've got a motion from Representative Bray, a second from Representative Pollock. Representative All, I know you've got questions. Do you want to wait for the other side to come up and make their presentation? Okay. We do have someone who has signed up to testify, somewhat in opposition. I don't think it's pure opposition. I think it's just some concerns that are out there possibly. So, Tim, if you'd come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and bring your issues before us.
Tim Shank, Kentucky Bankers Association. We're not opposed to the premise behind the bill, but we think there are a number of technical issues that may be able to work through with the bill. But there are some examples of that include that on page 11 and 12, there are provisions that essentially say that a mortgage or deed of trust is enforceable against the trust. There are no exemptions for security interests. So, example, your UCCs that are out there. Perfected security interest and trust property should enjoy similar protection. Talking to a number of attorneys in the very short time that has been out there right now, there's some concerns that this would essentially make this the most friendly state, debtor-friendly state in the union under the way it's currently drafted. Other states typically have provisions for protections for tort liability. There is not a protection built within this statute under the way it's currently written. And while we support the general concept of a spendthrift trust, I think there just needs to be some reworking of this bill and some rewriting to make it not a completely debtor-friendly state, but also recognize the rights of creditors that are currently already within other provisions of law that this could potentially conflict with.
Thank you. Now, Representative All, I know you've got questions, and those can be directed at whichever side of the panel you need to direct them at.
I think it's for represent the sponsor and the group. So I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with spendthrift trust. Could you tell us the difference in what that kind of trust is and why this legislation is specifically needed in the first place?
So Kentucky's allowed for spendthrift trust in a certain regard for years, as long as I've been practicing. So if you think about leaving assets to your children in trust and putting provisions in the trust that say that your children can't alienate, assign, or pledge the assets in that trust with the assets that you've given to them so that they're not squandering their inheritance after they've received it. Spendthrift trusts like that have always been allowed. And to a certain degree, people have set up spendthrift trusts for their spouses where they've put it into an irrevocable trust and their spouse is the beneficiary. What this bill does is it takes it one step further, like the other states have, in allowing you to set up a trust for yourself where you're a beneficiary but have no control over the assets. So you've really given them away into this irrevocable trust. You can't take them back. And whether or not you receive any benefit is at the complete discretion of the trustee. And so you can't get to it unless the trustee makes a distribution. And by doing that, you are able to get it out of your estate for estate tax purposes, which is a very large benefit. In response to the comments regarding making this the most debtor-friendly state, I would argue that creditors are better protected if people are attracted to use our laws and our courts, because then whether or not it's been a fraudulent conveyance or a proper conveyance is being decided by our courts and not the courts of Alaska or Nevada or South Dakota. And from a business perspective, if our laws are more friendly, we're going to attract more business. And that's a big part of this bill as well. I don't want to continue to see clients go to Tennessee or Kentucky residents go to Tennessee because they have better laws than we do and they can better protect their families and their assets there than they can here. They're going to do it. I'd rather them do it on our soil with our courts where we're making the determination. And by having more friendly laws than, say, Delaware or South Dakota, then we're going to attract outside people as well. So it's better for Kentucky as a whole, economically.
Representative McPherson.
So maybe you're set up a trust for yourself. Is that maybe something you could do for like long-term care for yourself? Like if you want to set up a trust, but you wanted that long-term care to be paid, like if you maybe were diagnosed with a disease or something, you knew that you would possibly Alzheimer's or something like that, where you may get to where you couldn't make the good decisions, but you wanted a trustee to make those. Is that something that this would work or protect from?
So I still think that this would not get you qualified for Medicaid to pay for that type of long-term care, because the Medicaid analysis is a separate analysis. And I'm not as versed in Medicaid as I usually deal with a larger net worth client. But with the Medicaid rules, you can't be the beneficiary at all for Medicaid to say that you qualified. So it's almost two separate analysis. But that's along the right track, putting assets into a trust of which you're the beneficiary but have no control. It's just with that extra layer of Medicaid, I'm not sure that you would qualify for those benefits.
So if I could, yeah.
Go ahead, Representative McPherson.
So you're not hiding it from, or you're not putting it away. You're actually, but there's a possibility, like if you were going to be a self-pay, you might want to do that and say, you know, if I want to go into a assisted living or a nursing home or something and I'm going to be self-pay, that you might set it up a trust that the trustee then would pay your bills if you became not eligible to.
Absolutely, you could do that.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little bit. I've gone through an experience similar to this, Representative Lockett. We were advised to take my parents and put it into a trust over a period, and I think it took 5 years for it to take fully effect. That way, if they had to go to a nursing home or anything like that, then the money was set aside and it couldn't be touched to go pay for that stuff. You know, so trusts are important and how they're established. And I appreciate you bringing this, because if we were more aware of what we can be doing with our money, we were fortunate we had a friend of the families that advised us, or they would have took all of my parents' money through that time. Because that's where they go at first, is they start selling the assets, taking all the assets. So trust is important, and setting these trusts up. So thank you for your bill.
Thank you. And I will say this too, Mr. Chairman. I know that we are more than willing to listen to other concerns and so forth of the drafting of this, and certainly willing to do a floor amendment if there's something that we see that needs to be changed.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make an editorial comment on that. Obviously, we try our very best in this committee to get everything as ready for the floor as we can. Sometimes issues pop up at the last minute. I had already talked to Representative Lockett today with the concerned parties from the bankers and another group that have raised basically the issues that have been raised there with UCC and tort liability issues. And so if we can, I would like us all to get together over the next few days. But again, we're getting to that time of session where we don't have a lot of time left if we want to move on good legislation. And again, I don't think this is anything that anybody is totally opposed to. It's just technical issues that we can try to hopefully work through over the next few days. So I know you're committed to doing that, and I appreciate that, and I'm committed to work with you on that as well, Representative Lockett. Any other questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative All.
I'm going to explain my vote real quickly.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna be a yes because I'm gonna trust what Chairman just said, and we're gonna work together to make it better. I like and appreciate the intent of the bill, but I do technical corrections before we get to the floor to make it.
Sounds
So I'm a yes. Thank you.
Representative Bentley? Representative Bray? Representative Duval?
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon? Representative Gooch? Representative Justice? Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Lockett?
yes.
Representative McPherson?
Yes.
Representative Pollock?
Yes.
Representative Rorix?
Can I briefly explain my vote?
Go right ahead, Representative.
I am going to pass today in hopes that we will see the changes on the floor and hope to hear more discussion about what those changes are. So I'm going to be a pass today.
Representative Roberts?
I too am going to pass today. Thank you.
Representative Rudy? Representative Smith? Representative Stevenson? Chairman Meredith?
Yes. House Bill 771, as amended by the House Committee Substitute, does pass. Same shit on the House floor. We will all get together here in the next day or so and see if we can work through the issues and get an amendment drafted that can deal with everybody's questions and issues. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
I do see Senator McDaniel has arrived. If he would come forward, introduce himself for the record. We'll call Senate Bill 139 next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. Mr. Chairman, appreciate you and the committee's time today. Senate Bill 139 you saw last year is Senate Bill 109. There have been some slight modifications to get the detractors or concerned parties from last year to where they are comfortable with supporting the bill this year. Very simply, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky right now, we are one of only 5 remaining states that have a particular requirement, and that requirement is for high net worth investors, and there's a federal qualification that they have to meet to be a high net worth investor. If those folks choose to pool their money in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and then hire someone to sit atop that fund, that person falls under the same type of licensure requirements as does a 401k advisor. This bill would simply remove those requirements and put us in conformance with about 45 other states who are already doing business in this way. The practical reality of what we see, so I'm from Kenton County, and we have folks who are pooling their money, but then locating their office in Cincinnati. In Louisville, they have folks that are pooling their money and then locating their office in Jeffersonville. So that is the statutory side as well as the practical side. Representative Lockett, I apologize. I was in another meeting. I just got your voicemail, so I would have called you, but I'm just checking voicemails while I was listening to your testimony. But that is the bill.
Got a motion, Representative Smith. Second, Representative Pollock. Representative Lockett does have a question.
Thank you, Senator. I did have just a question, and I realized, and I guess because this is what I do, my question comes from really, I understand that 45 other states may do this, but I'm going to share my concern with you. I'm a firm believer that anybody who has any type of advisory role, I don't care if it's small or if it's big, should have the same requirements as everybody else. That's a personal standpoint. I get that other states are not doing that, and I certainly respect that. But in terms of just my personal role being in this side of the business, if you have any type of advisory role to someone to say you should invest in this, you should do this, you should not invest here, you should go to property, whatever the case may be, put it in a trust, then you ought to have the same requirements as everybody else, as every other advisor does. So that's my only issue with the bill. I'm not going to probably vote no, but that's my issue with it. But I appreciate you bringing it today.
Leader Rudy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator McDaniel, I appreciate you bringing this important legislation. I understand that, and I thank you for working with interesting parties to reach the agreements. I understand Representative Lockett does have the concerns that he has, but I did encourage no committee substitute on this because I think it's very important. We're in this point of the session. This bill passed the Senate on February 16th. Thanks for getting it down here early to us, but just might note that some bills that passed on February the 1st in the House rest in your committee. We sure would like to get those back down to this chamber.
Keep it to the bill at hand, leader.
You can rest assured we are working diligently, Mr. Leader.
You didn't have to answer that, Senator. Representative Hall.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to follow that, but last year the Department of Financial Institutions had some reservations about this bill and that you ran last year, and I know we've got a new commissioner over there. Have you worked with the new commissioner and alleviated their concerns that they had last year about the bill and the new version?
I have not worked personally with the new commissioner, but my understanding is that DFI is okay with the language at this point.
Okay, thank you.
In Representative Hall, if you know or find otherwise, I'm certainly willing to talk with them. But that's my understanding. Yes.
My understanding as well from the chair. Any other questions from members of the committee? Having a motion and a second, seeing no other questions, Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Representative All.
Aye.
Representative Bentley. Yes, ma'am. Representative Bray. Yes. Representative Duval.
Yes.
Representative Fraser Gordon. Representative Gooch. Yes. Representative Justice.
Yes.
Representative Lewis. Yes. Representative Lockett.
I am going to pass just for the same reasons I mentioned before.
Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Rorix.
Yes.
Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Rudy. Representative Smith. Representative Stevenson. Chairman Meredith.
Yes. Senate Bill 139 does pass with same favorable expression, same shit on the House floor, pending kicking out some of those bills that the floor leader was talking about over there, probably.
Certainly we wouldn't do such. But
He
thank
does
you,
control-
Mr. Chair.
He does control that floor a little more than I do, Senator.
There you go. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as always. We appreciate you greatly. Thank you.
This time I'll turn the chair over to Representative Pollock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Clerk, make sure you make a note that Representative Rudy is present here in the committee. Sponsor, you can start when you're ready.
Call the bill, Chairman.
Well, it is House Bill 727. There is a committee sub.
There is a committee substitute.
Please explain that sub.
So what I will say about the committee substitute is the committee substitute addresses issues that were raised by the School Facilities Construction Commission and their bond counsel the day we posted the bill for passage in the committee. That is why it was a little late yesterday afternoon getting to you all. Normally we try to have it done before we leave the floor and out to all the members. I think we were about 30 minutes or an hour behind that yesterday. But again, we're just trying to address those concerns that had been raised to us either Monday night or yesterday morning so that we could put the best product we could before you today.
So the motion on the sub is from Representative Bray, second by Representative Rudy. Any discussion, any questions on the sub? Having none, for those who are in favor of the sub, say aye. Aye. Those who are a no, say no. Sub passes. Continue.
So House Bill 727 is a piece of legislation that tries to address the cost of financing school construction in Kentucky. We all know that school districts face a lot of different pressures, and dollars are part of that pressure. And anytime that we can save a little money, it's important that we try to do so.
Motion on the bill.
So we have a motion on the bill from Representative Lockett, second by Representative Bray. Any questions on House Bill 727? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Representative All.
Aye.
Representative Bentley. Yes, ma'am. Representative Bray. Yes. Representative Duval.
Yes.
Representative Fraser Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Justice.
Yes.
Representative Lewis. Yes. Representative Lockett.
Yes.
Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Rorix.
Yes.
Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Rudy, Representative Smith,
You have me at savings, yes.
Representative Stevenson, Chairman Meredith.
Yes.
House Bill 727 passes with favorable expression. Should do so on the floor as amended. Bye. Thank you all
Mr.
so
Chairman,
much.
members of the committee.
Move to adjourn.
Motion.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.